All right, so it has been a few days now since I finished the competition in Brunei, and my phone's centered here. I figured I'd do a video for everyone, kind of explaining what went down. I'll get into my situation in a minute, but first, I'd like to thank all the people who put the show together. The people at Forged Fitness Brunei, the people at Strength Hub Brunei. Thanks to Hannes Ways and his father, their father, for being so welcoming, being so helpful in everything. Thank you to the team and to the students at Forged Fitness for coming to my seminar, my strongman seminar, even after my very poor performance. Is not a representation of who I am as an athlete, but hopefully what I was able to present to everyone in that conference seminar is at least a demonstration of who I am as a coach and what I do as a coach. Thank you also to the sponsors. Thank you to Wafa Hotel for putting on the show and providing the athletes with a place to stay. Thank you to all the other athletes who were there. I wish I could have given you a better performance and pushed you all a little bit more, but that was not on the cards, as I was not feeling my best throughout, especially the second day of competition. As you can tell, I'm still losing my voice, and I hope it doesn't give out completely during this video, but I'll try to get through. So, the competition in Brunei, Asian Strength Games 2024, was held on June 1st and 2nd of this year, which is a Saturday and a Sunday, or was a Saturday and a Sunday. I arrived in Brunei after about 14 hours of traveling. I went from Kaohsiung to Kuala Lumpur. I had about a 8 or 9 hour layover in Kuala Lumpur, and then I flew to Brunei. I don't think the flight affected me too much. It could have been my wife and my stepdaughter were sick, kind of still are even right now. They've been sick for a couple of weeks now. I was feeling a little bit uncomfortable, let's say, a few days before I left, but it went away and I was feeling fine. I don't really know if not sleeping much in the airport and the travel affected that and brought it back, or if I got something new. But anyway, I arrived. Sorry, I'm going to be clearing my throat throughout this. I'm still sick. I arrived in Brunei on the morning of Thursday, which is May 30th. May 30th and 31st, I just basically chilled in the hotel, ate, rested, felt okay. The first day we competed was June 1st, that's Saturday. I felt okay during warm-ups. The first event was a deadlift ladder, 240, 260, 280, and 300 kilograms. And I could tell on the 300 kilogram deadlift that it definitely was not as fast as I would have liked it to be. It was not as fast or as easy as it was in training. And so that was a little bit of a signal to me that something was just a little bit off. But it didn't really feel heavy. It didn't really move well. That was okay. I took fourth in that. I was happy with how I placed in that in my time. I was thinking going into that event that I probably could finish all four around 30 to 40 seconds, given how training went. And I did. I think I finished it in 29 seconds, which is actually faster than I had hoped. And it would have been faster had 300 moved the way it had in preparation for comp. But it didn't, so it is what it is. Second event, also on that Saturday, was a sandbag steeplechase. 2 130 kilogram sandbags over 2 120 centimeter high yoke crossbars. And I could tell right away with the sandbags that something was off. The sandbags were much softer than the ones I was used to using, and they were new and slippery. But again, all the athletes did before and after me did better than I did. I ended up taking last place in that. I could not, for whatever reason, pick up the second sandbag, and I got stuck just getting the first sandbag over the first railing, and I thought I could feel trying to pick it up and having it slip. But the sandbag was wet as well, and it was very floppy. Again, just excuses. So I didn't perform well, and all the other athletes did better than I did. Only one other guy did not get the second sandbag over the first yoke. He took 5th, and I took 6th. But he moved the second sandbag farther than I did. I don't really know what happened. I think potentially the sandbags I was using in practice, in prep, were much harder. Even though they were heavier, they were much harder and easier. Harder as in not as soft, and easier to pick. And then I was 3rd in the line, and the sandbag was wet, and it affected my ability to pick it. So anyway, excuses. Then the last event was the overhead medley. And the overhead medley for me was also quite disappointing. Even though I tied for 2nd on it, I was hoping to get the dumbbell. And I think probably I would have gotten the dumbbell. Everything was very fast for me. I tied getting all the implements except the dumbbell. But the dumbbell was different from the one I had been using. It was just a handle, and it wasn't like a solid block, and so the weights actually spun on the handle, and so I would get it to my shoulder and it would start to roll off my shoulder backwards, which is weird because usually if a dumbbell isn't placed properly it'll fall forwards, but this was falling backwards and it kept on rolling, so every time I dipped it would roll back. And I made 2 attempts at it, and the second attempt I felt kind of a crack in my shoulder, and I wasn't willing to risk tearing a rotator cuff on that thing, so I gave up there. And only one other guy got it, and the reason why he got it was because he held it vertically. Now, I have held dumbbells vertically before, but I hadn't practiced it in a long time because the dumbbell that I have is a solid block. It's a circus dumbbell, not a giant dumbbell, and so I didn't really think to do it that way, and I didn't really practice it, and so I just left it. I ended up tying up for 2nd. So after day 1, I was tied for 4th. Went home. I could just tell in taking a shower that I just wasn't feeling well. I started to get like a little bit of a sore throat, which is usually indicative of getting sick for me. It's usually, for most people, it's, if you feel like you're getting a little bit scratchy at the throat, you're coming down with something. But anyway, I went to bed, woke up the next day, feeling okay. I woke up with a sore throat, but it went away as I warmed up to 2 events I thought I'd do very well at, the yoke and the farmers. I finished, the yoke was, I think I was either the fastest or the 2nd fastest completing the yoke, but for whatever reason, the farmers decided not to cooperate, and I don't know why this is. I know that my grip has gotten much better over the years, but for whatever reason, training grip usually goes well for me. I have good days and bad days, just like everybody else, but training grip definitely has improved. My grip has definitely improved. For whatever reason, I dropped the farmers twice, and that cost me, it put me down in last place in the event, or 5th place in the event. So I was in 5th place I was tied for 4th going into the last event, which was the stone to shoulder. At this point, the 6th place guy quit. So it was just me trying to get fourth place. Stone to shoulder, warming up. The 90 kilogram stone, someone dropped it and it shattered, which I think probably affected my ability to do the event. I'm not blaming anybody. It's just I think like I wasn't able. I don't have stones. So for those of you who've been following my channel, know that I had been using sandbags instead of stones, and the stone and the sandbag are two different things. I was hoping that I could use the 90 kilogram stone to kind of like get reacquainted with the stones, but it was shattered before I could even touch it. So we had only the 120 kilo stone, and not a heavy stone, but I think my body was so tired and sick, getting sick, becoming sick. It's like if you have a bad session out of the blue, sometimes it's indicated that your body is getting sick or something, right? I got the stone up to my upper chest the first time, and I got dizzy, and I dropped the stone. I tried to pick it up again right away, and I was still dizzy, and I didn't get a good grip on it. So I stood back up, breathed in a few times, got my head back around, and got the stone up again almost to my shoulder, and I dropped it again because I was dizzy, and I gave up. I couldn't stand properly. I was getting dizzy, and there's a video from Forged or from Brunei, Strength Club Brunei, where like walking off the platform, I almost fell over. Like I was so dizzy, and that was the end of my show. So I finished in 5th place. Very disappointing. All the events I thought I would do well in, I did very poorly in, and all the events I was worried about, I did well in. I did better than I had hoped for. Especially the overhead tying for 2nd place. I was not expecting that. The yoke was about where I wanted it, especially not finishing the dumbbell to finish tied for 2nd with the overhead was, I guess, good news for me. But, I was very unhappy with my performance. Still am. And it is what it is. So I can't really make any excuses. I am just sick now. I don't know if that's what caused my poor performance. I felt kind of, especially on the 2nd day, I didn't have quite as much energy. I was feeling kind of dizzy. And I went home that night. I went back to my hotel that night, and as I was taking a shower, I could feel my sore throat coming on. And then I went to sleep early that night, got up the next morning, and I had a very bad sore throat. In fact, I think the people at Forged that day, Forged Fitness, will tell you that I was having a hard time keeping my voice during the seminar I was coaching. So I was kind of having to shout, and my voice left me pretty quickly. So where do I go from here? Well, there are several things that I need to address. First of all, I don't have the size, the height really to compete with the heavyweights. So the first thing I'm going to do, regardless of where I'm competing next, if I'm competing next and where, is I'm going to drop body weight. I'm going to get back down to 105. Basically, I want to get down to about 107 to 108, somewhere in there, and kind of hover around there and keep my body weight there. Reason being is because even if I were, it's one of those things where if you were competing at a high level and you still placed poorly, you know that maybe you just can't hang with those guys, and it's on you to get stronger. Now, these weights were not a challenge for me. Training went very, very well. Comp prep went very, very well. It was not a strength issue. But I know that these are not difficult weights for those guys either. And probably, even at my best, the best I could have taken at this was just based on the size differences probably would have been third place. And that's on me. I chose to do this competition. I chose to do it in the open class. I've chosen to compete in the open weight class now several times. But it's time, I think, for me to face the facts, face the music. I'm not going to be able to be, 200 centimeters tall and 160 kilograms in body weight and move very well. I'm 176, 177 centimeters tall, and at 120 kilograms body weight, that's about the edge of what I can handle. So I am going to redouble my focus on losing body weight, staying strong in the meantime, and I am going to redouble my efforts on building up my grip, making it as steady as it possibly can. Even if it's not particularly strong, at least it's not strong one day and shit the next day. And that way I know that comp weights will always be there. I don't really know what the next competition for me will be. My wife is pregnant. She's supposed to be giving birth late September, early October. I really don't feel like leaving her alone. I spent money to travel. I made no prize money. I feel like now it's kind of time for me to take on the reins of being a husband and father and trying to help make ends meet and help prepare our house for the little one coming. I won't rule out competing, but it would definitely have to be a show that would be worth competing in, which Brunei was. It was just my performance was not up to par. But I'm going to be training, and I'm going to be training even harder, training even smarter. I still have goals that I want to hit for the end of this year, whether I compete or not. I would say definitely I would like to go to Indonesia at the end of the year if possible. If I can qualify for China, I will, and we'll see what happens. Potentially, I've heard some things about maybe Hungary having a competition, Malaysia having a competition or two. We'll just kind of see what happens. But right now, I think I need to put more focus on my family, my daughter on the way, and just getting healthier, getting stronger, getting my body back to 100%, and getting my body weight down, because 105 is kind of where I belong with my height, and it's just kind of the way that it is. So thank you once again to everyone who's followed me, who sent good, well wishes. Thank you to everyone who made the competition possible. Thank you to everyone who made my competing in the competition possible. I'm sorry to have let everyone down. My voice is leaving me, so I'm going to cut this short. But we'll be back, and we'll be back stronger, and we'll be back. Definitely, I want to go back to Thailand, and I will probably compete in the open class. We'll see what I weigh. We'll see how I feel then. But I want to at least try to defend my title in Thailand. If nothing else, that will be my next show. If there are other shows that I can go to, then I will. We'll see. I think I'd like to put more focus on getting my body weight down and getting my grip better and getting my body healthier, moving better, feeling better, doing more conditioning and cardio, and trying to stay strong and get stronger. That may mean a few months of just training for nothing in particular, but we'll see what happens. Thank you again to everyone. I'm sorry I let you down, but not everything always works out the way that we want it to, but we'll be back.